First Nation and Native American reservation sightings, another First Nation man by the name of Charlie Victor told the following story about his personal contact with the Sasquatch. A Sasquatch woman and white child. Referring again to the region of Morris Mountain in British Columbia. There are now only a few of the wild giants living in these mountains, said Charlie in his terse Indian dialect. They are rarely seen and seldom met, but some still live in the mountains around here. I have met them on several occasions. Some of the times I saw them, nothing happened. We stood and looked at one another, but the last time was not a happy meeting. It happened this way. I was hunting in the mountains and had my dog with me. One day I came out on a plateau where there were several giant cedar trees. The dog rushed up to one of the trees and began to growl and bark. Looking up to see what had excited him, I noticed a large hole in the trunk about 7 feet from the ground. The dog kept jumping at the tree and scratching, looking around to me to lift him up. When I did so, he dropped down inside the hole. Then there was an awful noise. I heard the dog growling and barking and something screaming. I thought my dog must be fighting a bear, and holding my rifle at the ready, called to him to drive the animal out. A moment later, something shot out of that hole. I fired, and the creature fell to the ground. I looked at it, then I felt sick. What I shot looked like a naked white boy about 12 years old. He was bleeding from a bullet wound in his leg, but when I stepped forward, he twisted away and let out a wild scream. From deep in the trees came a reply. Nearer and nearer came the voice, and every now and again the wounded boy would cry out as if calling directions. Then out of the forest came a Sasquatch woman. She was about 7 feet tall, built big all over, and her skin was as dark as mine. Her long, straight hair fell to her knees. She looked so big and strong that I am sure if she had laid hands on me, she could have broken every bone in my body. When I saw her, I felt scared, and instinctively I lifted my rifle in case I had to defend myself. The woman ran toward the boy, bent over him, and then turned on me savagely, her eyes like balls of fire. In the Douglas dialect, she growled, "You have hurt my friend." I explained in the same language, I am part Douglas myself, that I had mistaken the boy for a bear and was very sorry for the accident. Anyway, I pointed out that he was not badly hurt. She made no reply, but, picking up the boy as easily as if he weighed nothing, lifted him to her shoulder and strode out into the woods. I do not think the boy belonged to the Sasquatch people because he was white-skinned and she called him her friend. No, she must have stolen him as a child or run across him in some other way. The story of the white boy and the Sasquatch has been referenced and embellished over time since the advent of the internet. Some believe the boy may have been the infant survivor of a light aircraft crash in which his touring French parents perished. Canadian newspaper reports of the day said the bodies of the plane's occupants were all found inside the remnants of a light aircraft, but the infant went unaccounted for by search and rescue parties. Did some compassionate Sasquatch family find the tiny infant crying in distress and rescue it from predators? Did they raise it as their own? In researching the source of the feral boy story, I was greatly surprised to discover the attribution was J.W. Burns and his Chehalis friend Charlie Victor. If this story is true, the feral boy would be of adult age by now. Doesn't it make you wonder about his existence and how he must be regarded today? Burns continued, another well-authenticated Sasquatch encounter happened in late September when Indian hop pickers were having their annual picnic near Agassiz, British Columbia. It was alleged that a young Indian man and maiden, named respectively William Point and Adeline August, both graduates of a Vancouver high school, were walking some distance from the picnic ground when they suddenly came across a Sasquatch. Hearing of the occurrence and anxious to verify it, I wrote to William Point for particulars. Here is the reply. Dear Mr. Burns, I have your letters asking it true or not that I saw a wild giant at Agassiz last September while with the hop pickers there. It is true, and the facts are as follows. Adeline August and myself started for her parents' house, which is about 4 miles from the picnic grounds. We were walking on the railroad track when Adeline noticed someone walking along the grade coming toward us. I also saw this person and first thought it another man walking the tracks as we were. But as he came closer, we noticed that his appearance was very strange, and on coming still closer, we halted in amazement and alarm. We saw that the man wore no clothing at all and was covered with hair like an animal. We were both very frightened. I picked up 2 large stones, which I intended to use on him if he attempted to molest us, but within 50 feet or so he just stopped and looked at us. He was twice as big as the average man, with arms so long that his hands almost touched the ground. His eyes were very large and as fierce as a cougar's. The lower part of his nose was wide and spread over the greater part of his face, which gave him a very repulsive appearance. Then my nerve failed me, and I turned and ran. I looked back as I ran and saw that he had resumed his journey. Adeline August had fled first, and she ran so fast that I did not overtake her until we reached the picnic ground, where we told the story of our adventure. Older Indians who were present said that the monster we encountered was undoubtedly a Sasquatch, a tribe of wild hairy giants now almost extinct who live in the district in tunnels and caves. Assuring you of the truth of this, yours truly, William Point. Burns continued, I do not doubt the authenticity, as he is both intelligent and well educated. Burns and his writings undoubtedly were responsible for popularizing the First Nation term Sasquatch. That's a given. While the moniker Bigfoot may be justifiable, I prefer the term Sasquatch. To me, it sounds far less demeaning than alternative words, Big Foot or Bigfoot, and yes, I capitalize Sasquatch just as I would Aussie or Brit. Why not? Believe what you will. This is the way I do it. I took great comfort in noting that Dr. Ed Fouche capitalized Shiniti and Stanicum in his detailed work on the Colville Reservation and with the Spokane. J.W. Burns was seriously the first to record witness testimony with such luxurious detail. I love the swagger this man must have had. Despite ridicule, he pressed on and left us with a great grasp of what life must have been like in Sasquatch territory. That I know about. He was the first to publish what he knew to be true and deliver it to a shocked and unsuspecting world, the largest percentage of whom knew nothing about wild men and their associations with the civilized world. I cannot imagine that Burns was not heavily ridiculed for his work. He was a man before his time. If anyone deserves special recognition in Bigfoot research, it is John W. Burns. I was struck by the last sentence in the letter from Mr. William Point, where he was quoted as saying, Older Indians who were present said that the monster we encountered was undoubtedly a Sasquatch, a tribe of wild hairy giants now almost extinct who live about the district in tunnels and caves. Apparently they believed some 89 years ago that the Sasquatch was almost extinct. What prompted them to say that? The numbers of sightings must have been dwindling to promote such a declaration. I do not agree with their reference to extinction, unless they were referring to a greater sized giant than I encountered, and that's quite possible. While North America does not have a fossil record of apes, we do have a fossil record of 8-foot and much taller giants. There is little consideration for the taller giant because almost nothing much is published about them. Could these giants have commingled and borne Sasquatch's offspring? Is that why some are so much taller than others? Or does the downsizing of the Bigfoot stem from commingling with the shorter Indians? So many questions, so few answers. To be continued, and thank you for listening. There would be many parts to the reading of this book. If you like this reading, please like, subscribe, and hit the notification button to be sure to catch the future parts. We welcome comments, but please be considerate of others. If you have had an experience with or about Bigfoot, cryptids, UFOs, paranormal, or any other strange happenings, and would like to share them on our channel to be read, please email them to sharingofstrangestories@gmail.com. We hope to establish a channel that can provide an outlet for people to speak freely of their experiences without ridicule from others. There are many of us out there that have had these experiences and have faced the ridicule. Emails will be read on our channel, so please keep them family friendly. If you want to remain anonymous and do not want your name read to the public, please put that at the beginning of the email or in the subject line. Thanks again for listening and stay safe.